Chicken dinner. GB, Coach GB with the get up, man. I love it, bro. How are you this fine Thursday night, man?
I wouldn't say get up. I'm just very prideful today. Got my Lopes gear on, getting
And you
geared
should be
up
prideful, man. You
for
should be prideful,
Saturday.
bro.
Absolutely, absolutely. Really
What's going
excited about the opportunity on Saturday for the boys.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if you know this, but the seniors have been to the Whippeal finals every single year.
And for Avonworth, for real?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, that's an accomplishment, man.
Yeah, so they want to, obviously they want to finish on top.
And they would finish
They
back to back too, right?
That would be back to back, correct?
Good way to finish.
And they are very very focused on the next opponent because they know that in order for them to get to their ultimate goal, and that's getting back to the states, they got to take care of business this week. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I'll say this: we there's been a lot of chatter on the socials. I'm not really going to get into that, okay? But there is a lot of chatter going on
We're
the
gonna
other
talk about
side
that.
of the fence.
Let them
Um,
chatter.
there's a lot of that, but we come from a school. There's the dog that barks and there's the dog that bites, and we're going to see, right,
So
on
yeah,
Saturday what that's going to look like. But you know what the bad part is, Dudek? It's not even really the kids. It's the adults,
the
man,
adult.
that make it worse. Like they be on socials talking junk, and then there's other, and you ain't got nobody
Okay.
in the program, and you out here
Out there running their damn
out
mouths.
there running your mouth, man.
All right.
It's so
Well,
comical, bro.
it is. So, and I want to get into that the first part of this before we move in because listen, we
Yeah.
got a really cool pod tonight. GB is in the house with the brews. Listen, I got myself. I pulled out the last of the Goblin Folk, which is a great dancing gnome brew. This was a
Oh,
really solid one. Check the tapes if you want the review on it, but I do recommend people putting this in your man caves. It's a quality IPA.
nice,
But listen, we
nice.
got we got my man JJ Kitchen stopping by. We're going to talk some Pitt Georgia Tech. GB, GB and I are going to hit the Steelers and Chicago Bears for Sunday, and
All
then
day.
all day, and we'll have to take everyone's questions, comments, things like that. Um, but we want to start off while we're waiting for our man JJ, who's going to be coming on here in about 10-15 minutes to talk some Avonworth football, who's going to be in the Whippeal Championships at Acrahines. So if the Steelers
Acronyms.
listen, long if the Steelers, they're away, so we don't got to worry about blaming them for the field conditions. And Pitt's away as well. So if anything messes up next week, we're gonna blame these Whippeals. But if I'm not mistaken, after these Whippeal Championships, I think that's the second sod relay, if you will, that they do in the stadiums because there's all kind of games that will be going on this
hmm
weekend. So it's a
Yeah,
great weekend to be down at Accra Hines for some WPIAL championship games,
yeah.
and none better than the defending champions,
That's right.
Avonworth.
That's right.
GB, you got a great game on slate. Tell us a little bit about this Avonworth matchup with Amani, I believe is how you pronounce it.
Yeah, Imani
And
Christian
which again,
Academy.
two great teams, but
Sure.
I wanted you to give some light, give some shine to this Avonworth team that is a well-deserved um, shine, if you will. So, GB, your floor is yours. How is this game going to shape up, and what are you looking out for, brother?
Well, you know what? First of all, let me give a shout out to Imani Christian Academy and the fantastic season that they've had this year. Gabriel
Yes,
Jenkins, one of my favorite players because he got the same name as me, right? And I told him that I was like, man, I love your name. We got the same
yes.
name, so you cool with me, right? Heck of an athlete, 6'1", 6'2", 210,
Okay.
215, physical running quarterback, if you will. They run a power package where they try to bully you, and they really, they're a physical team, and they got a 1-2 punch. Him and he and a gentleman by the name of David Davis. Oh, by the way, Gabriel Jenkins is a 4-star
Okay.
recruit as well, and David Davis is as well. I had the pleasure of coaching David Davis a little bit with Sky Development last year. Really
Okay.
good dude, man.
Hmm.
Really nice kid. Heck of an athlete, man. Another dude who's really, really physical. So, want to give a shout out to those two in particular, and then my man Fats as well. Maurice Williams, that's my man. That was my guy back at Sky as well. I got a chance to
Okay.
coach him too, man. He's a good dude, as well. But man, they got some good stuff. Coach Leroy, they call him franchise. Leroy Johnson, he's been doing incredible work there. So I wanted to start with them, but let me talk about Avonworth, and I can go real deep with Avonworth because I've been watching these seniors play since they won their first. Some of these boys won their first youth Super Bowl in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they've been winning championships for, all the way through. And it's been fun to watch. And Avonworth is an old school type of team. And what I mean by that is there's like a new type of teams coming out. You hear a lot about transfers, and you hear about, people trying to develop super teams and stuff, this, that, and the other stuff, and you hear all the ruckus and the chaos that goes on with in the Whippeals, about whether people are going to be eligible or not. We don't have that problem. Everybody's pretty much homegrown, and I think that's a testament to the youth
That is good.
program, because a lot of the guys who are playing now have been playing since youth, and they've been playing together, since youth as well. So I feel like when you add that part to it, and it's all four classes. It's the freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. They all have
Okay.
championship pedigree. And when you put that together, they're fundamentally sound. Let me give a shout out to Coach John Core and the incredible job that he's doing with this particular team. He's really giving his athletes an opportunity to really show up and show out, if you will, on offense. Their defense is so fundamentally sound. They are gap sound. I wish that the Steelers would take a note into the Avonworth Lopes playbook and see what gap sound defense looks like. With gap integrity and 11 guys flying through the football. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
fun. It's fun to watch. So. Um, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the stars on the, I feel like they're all stars. I could talk about all of them because I've had the pleasure of coaching all of them, all 11 on offense, defense, and special teams, so, but just to highlight a couple guys that you want to really look at in the game on the offensive side. Obviously, Carson Bellinger, who's the senior quarterback, who is having an amazing senior campaign, bounce
Mm-hmm.
back from the junior campaign. I don't know if you remember last year, they did a lot of wildcat and stuff like that, and that could affect a quarterback. Guy who's supposed to be QB1, he's sitting
Yeah.
on the sidelines because they're running just to, that could mess with you. Well, he came back this year and really, really rebounded and is doing an outstanding job. The running back, Dimitri Valaceris, aka Meech, um, outstanding running back, physical. He's not afraid to hit you, but he'll move, he'll juke you, and he got speed out the wazoo. And then you got uh, what do they call him, Braylon? The big red what? The big red wall. The
Big red
offensive
wall.
line. The offensive line.
Like it.
Yes. With
Like it.
Bradley Hines at center, and Noah Neese, and Big Peter Bonnet, who's going to who's going to Navy, right? We got Tyler Hanney and Harrison McAfee, and you got some killer H backs, and Jackson Kroll, and Bryce Metz, who's also going to be a force on the defensive side of the ball. It's going to be a very, very interesting physical game. He's also an inside linebacker. But man, and then you got the guys on the outside, Luca Neal, and Jaden Jones, who who I've had the pleasure of coaching since youth, and just watching him grow and blossom and becoming, everything we knew he was going to become.
Sure.
doing outstanding work. So that's on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball, man, it's the crazy part is that there really are no real stars. Everybody contributes.
Collective. Yeah.
There's some guys who will cause ruckus against the pass. Romello Harris is one of them. He's taken he's taken the defense by storm with giving them a sustainable pass rush. He and Evan Lautzenheiser doing an outstanding job. And then I'm going back to my man Buggy. They call him Buggy, right?
Sure.
AKA Bug, AKA Bryce Metz, number 23. This dude, this middle linebacker, man, I'm telling you that he's so quiet, but he's
Yeah.
he's a certified, board certified dog, and I'm really interested to see that matchup between Gabriel Jenkins and Bryce Metz coming together, hitting quarterback on linebacker, seeing what that's going to look like, running back on linebacker, see what that's going to look like. That's going to be a lot of fun to watch. But yeah,
Cool.
it's going to be a lot of fun, man. I could go on and talk about everybody on this team, but I'm just going to tell you that both teams are going to come, correct. And I think, and I'll leave it at this: the team who plays the cleanest will win the game.
As you know what, as with all levels of football, right? As with all levels of football. Listen, I mean, I appreciate the few minutes that you have, and Avonworth deserves the shout outs that you are giving them. And it sounds like a close-knit team. It sounds like a well-coached team. It sounds like a team that is prized to repeat, especially these seniors. By the way, to be able to repeat as WPIAL champions as seniors is special,
right?
And you and I come from a very successful high school program as well, but we did not have the success that Avonworth is not like Avonworth.
Like this, no,
not like that. So I'm proud of, and I don't know any of these kids, but I'm proud to know that you're in a school district with these kids, and I remember all the conversations we've had about the way that they're coached from the Pee-wees all the way up through high school. Yeah. It's a reason and it's a staple of why Avonworth football is successful. It's a buy-in from the very beginning to the very top whenever they're looking to graduate. So the reason I say I'm proud is just because when you put in that type of work as a program, you're yielding the results. And you have spoken about not only a lot of these kids good ball players, but they seem to be, and I don't only say the word seem because I don't know them, but they seem to be very good kids that are going to go on to do some good things in college and beyond. So I wish nothing but the best for the Avonworth football team. But may the best team win, and I'm sure they will. The best team will win, regardless of who it is. But I'm obviously pulling for Avonworth because that is your school district, brother. So let's get that done.
I think I'm going to pull for them too.
You should pull for them. Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Let's keep the party going, shall we? You
got the tchotchke on, bro.
We're having a good, we're having a good time.
Hey, you traded in the Roberto Clemente hat for the Lopes coach visor. I love it.
You know what? This is a shout out to my man Jason Hines, who passed away Christmas Eve last year. His son Bradley Hines is the center, and we did these hats in honor of him. He was also he was also a fixture in the Eagles, which is the youth Avonworth Eagles, which was a youth program. We won our first Super Bowl together in 2018. I miss that dude, man. I love that dude, man. He was an awesome human being, awesome dad, awesome coach. And we got these hats made in honor of him. He always used to say pen to paper. That was his thing.
That's awesome.
So that's why I'm wearing this today. Actually, is in honor of my man Jay Hines.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's good. It's just good to know good people in any form of life. So
absolutely,
that sounds good. So let's get in to our squad, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Let's do it.
We're talking about a place where they have not had very much success, although that historical prowess really means really not much of anything. they're playing in Soldier Field against the Chicago Bears. And I believe the last time they won there, I believe, was when O'Donnell and Ernie Mills and Yancey Thigpen and the boys, Eric Pegram and those, that 90, one of those games that they turned around that 3-4 start to make a run to Super Bowl 30. Haven't had
Yeah.
a lot of success against the Chicago Bears. Well, one, I mean, you don't play them a lot. You play them once every 4 years.
Right.
And I think the last time we played them, it was in Pittsburgh, and there was a game that had some shenanigans at the end. Justin Fields, I believe, was a rookie or a second-year guy, and he darn near beat us in that game, played his tail off. But this year, it's a different team. The Chicago Bears, 7-3.
Man.
Coming back from the dead, in a sense, for a while, possibly have the franchise quarterback in Caleb Williams. I have been on record many times saying that this man was not going to be a good NFL quarterback. And honestly, the jury is still out. And here's why I say that. It's never been about the talent. It's been about what's up here with this dude, right? And I think it's portraying that stuff on the field because the way the Steelers, I think, are going to beat the Bears, at least defensively, they're going to need to make the Chicago Bears have a sustained drive. Because the Bears do make some big plays, but they also make a lot of boneheaded plays from what I have seen from them. Looking at a player like Caleb Williams, GB, who seems to be feast or famine. What I mean by that is he'll make a throw on a run. It'll make your jaw drop. He's always had that talent. He had that talent at Oklahoma, USC, wherever he's been. And he's done it with the Chicago Bears. But the other time, he'll sit there and make your jaw drop in the other direction and throw some, do some boneheaded plays. And I believe if you make him progress through a play, if you will, you can force him into some mistakes. The Steelers have had a pretty good success against someone like that in Lamar Jackson, who is light years ahead of and better than Caleb Williams. But how would you play a quarterback, or what should the Steelers do playing a quarterback like Caleb Williams, who is seemingly a feast or famine type of a quarterback where he's going to make some plays, but you also know he's probably going to give you some?
Well, if I'm being honest, Caleb Williams is kind of the least of my worries when it comes to this team.
Okay.
I am very worried about the 1-2 punch of DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monagai, however you say his name, dude from Rutgers. Them dudes can run.
4.7 yards a carry between both of them.
Yeah, and they run well, and that's going to be the key to the success or lack thereof when it comes to Caleb Williams. Coach Johnson is phenomenal. He's an offensive minded, guru. I expect to see some razzle dazzle, if you will, a couple trick plays. Like, I think that he's going to show a couple things. But it's the run game that really concerns me more than anything because, Caleb Williams I think he's good, but I believe that the cast of characters that he's throwing to is pretty outstanding with Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Luther Burden, and then you have Colston Loveland and Cole Kmet, which is a great 1-2.
I don't know if Cole Kmet might still be out though, but
Loveland is still killing the game. You know what I mean? So one way or the other, right? That's a problem. And then you got Devin Duvernay doing the with the punt returns and kick returns and stuff as well. So they pose some issues, and then when you compound that with, and this is the part that really concerns me more than anything, Caleb Williams or all of it, is what version of the Pittsburgh Steelers are we going to get?
Yeah,
are we going to get the Colts and the Bengals version? The home version, we're going to get the away version, the Cincinnati version, where we look a whole hot mess. Like what version are we going to get. And last week I was on record saying, if this team is who we think they are, then they're going to make a statement this week
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to rebound. Well, I'm going to say that again. If this team is who we think they are, then they're going to have to stack some wins, okay, in
Absolutely.
order to put themselves in position to be the team that we feel like they're going to be. So this is, in my opinion, a must-win game. Must win. Because this is a pinnacle part of the season. I mean, you're 10 in now. Okay, we down to last. We going. We getting closer. So all the losses get magnified even that much more. In a game like this where you got a young up and coming team, you know, um, this is when you got to make a statement and show that yeah, this we no, y'all ain't
Well,
it.
and you hit the nail on the head about making a statement, right? So let's look at this 7-3 record from the Bears. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I only put a little bit of weight in something like this
Yeah.
because matchups drive the NFL. Regardless of records, and there could just be a team that is a good or a bad matchup for you, and it really doesn't matter what they do. And even in the other, which is not applicable here to the Bears, but it's also being familiarity with it. It's why the Steelers have always played tight games against the Browns and Bengals when they're really bad, and those teams get blown up because they're just familiar with each other. So there's a way to learn how to play. It's why the Steelers, for the most part, have held Lamar Jackson in check, but he tears up the rest of the league because you're
Yeah.
familiar with them. So the first part of that is of my statement, and this was like, okay, let's look at how the Bears became 7-3, which I'm not knocking Chicago for this, but it is what it is. And again, it doesn't have much of an applicability to the Steelers, but I want to
I know
go
where
over
you're
with this with
going.
everybody, right?
I saw this too.
So okay, so they
We're on
they
the
started
same
the year out.
wavelength. Yes.
Yeah, they started the year out 0-2, losing to the Vikings and Lions. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
the Lions, unfortunately, we're going to see the Lions a little bit later. They're still a juggernaut.
Yes.
Then they have wins against the Cowboys. This
Mm-hmm.
is before they made all their moves, right? Then they beat the Raiders. Then they beat the Commanders. Then they beat the Saints.
Mm-hmm.
Then they lost to the Ravens 30-16.
Yep.
Then they beat the Bengals. They
Mm-hmm.
beat the Giants. And then they beat the Vikings by 2.
Correct.
So where your GB is going this as far as making a statement goes, this is an inflated 7-3. In reality, this is probably a 500 team in the Chicago Bears. You make statements against teams like this. You make statements against quarterbacks that are feast or famine. Now, I am impressed, and this is more or less because of their head coach, that they have, and the GB was alluding to this earlier, well, not necessarily about the quarterback, but it's about the offense and the scheme and the coach, right? If you take Luther Burden and go from 19 to 20 catches, he has 19 catches in a year.
Mm-hmm.
That gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players,
That's amazing.
right? With we'll just say 19, but I'm just saying with 20 sounds better, right? With 19 or more catches, and that does not count Cole Kmet's 16 catches because he's also been out for a while with an injury.
Yeah.
All right. You have, Roma Dunze leads is 75 targets, which is 25, 24 more than DJ Moore. So those two eat the lion's share of the targets.
Mm-hmm.
And they're averaging 15 and a half and 13 and a half yards per catch, respectively. And average yards per catch, respectively. Odunze is by far the leader with 6 touchdowns. And Loveland has 2. Everybody else is scattered through with 1. So
Mm-hmm.
Williams spreads the ball around. Now, if you remember the Detroit Lions offense from last year and in years prior, there's some deep shots, but there's a lot of this swing routes, smoke screens,
Yep.
digs and mesh concepts. They kind of get these guys in space. And listen, up until Ramsey and Duggar were at safety, I would be very worried about that.
Yeah.
But I am no longer as concerned. I'm still concerned, but I'm no longer as concerned because of the way Ramsey and Duggar are playing. But you look at someone like Zacchaeus.
Zacchaeus.
I'm looking at what's that? Zacchaeus.
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 Yeah.
I mean, he has 32. He's the second on the team with 32 receptions, but only 248 yards. So he is like your smokescreen guy.
Yeah.
They spread the ball around. DeAndre Swift 23 catches. By the way, I want the Steelers to win, but I want Swift to score all the points other than kicking for the Bears. I'm just going to throw that out. But the division of labor, if you will, is something that does scare me as far as the offense goes. In GB, you've hit on this already about the running backs. Luther Burden, I think, is somebody that I'm extremely worried about because at the beginning of the Cincinnati game, 80 was starting to kill us a little bit until they made some adjustments.
Yeah.
You're not as familiar with this team. Are you going to man up more on Chicago?
I don't know.
Or are you going to sit back and just attack a little bit because you also got to factor in Caleb Williams' legs? That could be a zone killer.
Yes, yeah. And the thing that really concerns me the most is the my son, he's
some shenanigans, huh?
Shenanigans, yeah. Remind me to tell you when we're done off the record. He just threw me totally off. But at any rate, I tell you what, the way that they use Colston Loveland to a la Sam Laporta that kind of gets all gets everything rolling. You understand what I'm saying? Like because he's always going to be your safety valve, quick stick route, you know what I mean? Just a quick post route, if all else fails. And you just brought up Caleb Williams' scrambling ability. That's another thing that gets him open. So and you know what, dude, it's the away thing, the variable that really concerns me too, because they have players. I mean, like they got some, they have
they do got players
of offensive players. And it's really, like I said, it's really going to tell us exactly what we're dealing with on, are we a contender or a pretender, or is it going to be, Doran Dickerson I think he didn't get a lot of sleep. He got a new baby and stuff. I think he got a lot of sleep this morning. I was check this out. I was at the field at 6 a.m. waiting for my boy and another boy who were working out this morning in the dark on the field
behind a tree.
You know what I'm saying? You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
You see where I'm going with this?
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that stuff. Okay. But at any rate, I digress. But I was listening to Doran, and Doran was like, we're about to have the same old, same old. We already know how this is going to play out. It's going to be, they won, and now they're going to lose. And then they won, and now they're going to lose. He's like, it's going to be the same predictable stuff. And I was like, man, Doran ain't really getting no sleep at home right now. He got a new baby at home. I was like, he really on one right now. He's
bringing out the Yinzer in him.
Yeah, he did. He brought out the Yinzer in him. But you know what, though? My thing is, all right, let's see it play out. I am interested to see, because he does have a point. I mean, his point is valid, because you get, and we've talked about this. I have the theory of the hired mercenary theory, where they are going to do this until, right, and then so you get into the postseason. That I'm telling you, that's where it flicks. And his argument was that that they are, 2-3 years, past their prime. It's not 2021 anymore or whatever. I don't really look at it that way. I look at it as a hired mercenary type of situation, and I've seen this before. Like, this is not the first time. Look at look at Tampa Bay whenever they won their chip. They had a couple dudes who were hired mercenaries. What's it? This guy by the name of Tom Brady. You might have heard of him. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
I think he's pretty good.
He was pretty damn good. Yeah. So you've seen those type of things in the past. You know what I mean? So that's what I think is going to happen here. Like when the Rams won the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
They already had Stafford and everything, but then they brought in a Jalen Ramsey. They brought in an Odell Beckham. Those are dudes hired mercenaries. That's what I'm saying. Those are hired mercenaries. Like
Yes,
they
sir.
they they're there specifically. The Eagles got Darius Slay, a mercenary, right? Boom to the
Mm-hmm.
next. That's the type of guys that they brought onto this roster.
Yeah.
So I
Well,
expect to
look,
see a little bit of that.
yeah, they do that, and Chicago's just like an up and down team. The Steelers are up and down team,
Yeah.
as well too. So we're definitely gonna see something that it's also the big question here, and I'm gonna bring our guest in. We have him behind stage because I want to bring him in. A good time to bring him in and talk some quarterbacks. Um, at the NFL level, if you are a fan of college football, especially the Pitt Panthers, you need to follow our boy coming up on stage right now, Mr. J.J. Kitchen. Brother, what is up, man?
Gentlemen, what's going on? It's a Thursday night. We're almost to the weekend here. One more, as they say, one more sleep.
One more sleep. One more sleep. Hey,
What's
man,
up,
listen,
bro?
somebody
I haven't talked to you in forever, man. How you been, JJ?
Dude, I've just been working. That's all it is. Podcasting, working, going to the gym. That's about it, brother. That's all I do. Just literally eat, sleep, shit, repeat. You know what I mean? That's just what it is at this point.
in between eating and shitting, getting curls for the girls, bro. That's what you're doing.
Oh,
There
listen.
you go.
Listen. I'm
Curls
out
for
there
the
just
girls.
I'm just out there spreading the gospel. Don't be a host, share the show. You know what I'm saying,
That's
kid?
right.
You know what I mean? That's what we do.
We're doing it. We're getting that, brother. We're getting that. Hey, man, I want to bring you in, get you your point of view on this because you watch a lot of ball at the collegiate level. That's also at the NFL level.
Mm-hmm.
You have the way some like Caleb Williams plays quarterback. You obviously know him from the Oklahoma days, from the USC days,
yep,
things like that. And the Steelers, when you play a quarterback like this, it's a big play guy, but he might not be like a matriculate the ball down the field guy, man. What do you think the Steelers need to do to play against someone like him? And does it really affect the way that you want to play offense on the Steelers as this Pittsburgh Steelers to kind of keep the ball away from maybe try to limit some of his big plays, man? What's your perspective on this, on Caleb Williams and how the Steelers should play them?
So two things. I mean, number one, to your point, he is a big play guy. They don't push. They like to push the ball down the football field. They're not articulate in terms of your short patterns, your medium passing game, your intermediate passing game. They're not going to try to do that. I think what they like to do is try to push it downfield. If you look at Ben Johnson before he was at the Chicago Bears, he did a really good job of those big time plays and being able to push the ball down the field. It's just how he operates. But more importantly, when you look at a guy like Caleb Williams, okay, he has struggled in the NFL since he's gotten here. Ben Johnson, I think, has done a really good job of just trying to get some type of fluency out of him. Right now, it's just the big players are working for them. If I'm the Steelers and I'm a defensive guy, one of the things I want to do is be able to, one, apply pressure. If you apply pressure to this guy and don't give him enough time, he can't throw the ball down the football field. Mm-hmm. When you look at the Steelers right now, you got TJ Watt, where you really need to get him back into place. You really want to get him back into the fold because he's kind of been out of the same mix where you haven't had him on the field quite often to where you're used to those big plays. TJ Watt hasn't been that. A guy that needs to play more is Nick Herbig. You need to get him on the football field, get Highsmith out of there. Unfortunately, Highsmith has not been as productive this year. He's gone through a couple injuries here and there. Yeah. But when you look at the actual pass rate in terms of pressure, quarterback hits, you need to get Nick Herbig on the field to create pressure. If you're able to get after pressure and get to Caleb Williams, he'll make those bad throws. He'll commit turnovers. When we see the Pittsburgh Steelers create turnovers, they win football games. Prime example, especially in the beginning of the year, the New York Jets. Then you had the New England Patriots was a prime example. You look at the New England Patriot game, the Patriots could have scored 30 or 40 points in the Steelers, but guess what? They made timely turnovers and was able to keep the Steelers in that football game, even with their offense struggling. You look throughout this entire season, when they create opportunities and they create turnovers, they win the football game. So, I mean, for me, when you look at Caleb, be able to, create disguises on who's really being able to come up and really create stunts up the middle, who's coming and who's not. I think that's what really creates the best defenses. And Brian Flores has done that in Minnesota. Obviously, he runs a 4-3 system. We're running a 3-4. But the great thing about it is that you're able to have two linebackers on the edge, find out who's going to be able to come at all different times. But you want TJ Watt, a guy who's on the edge. He stays on one side the entire time. I got news for you. You want that guy being able to get after the quarterback. And then maybe if you really want to mix it up, drop a couple guys, whether it's in the defensive linemen's, drop a D tackle, put him back into the middle of the field, have a linebacker come up, be able to mix things up. Don't be so easily repetitive like previous weeks. Do something different.
Jay just calling it right now. Pick 6 for Harmon getting a pick 6.
Oh, dude, I would love that.
Defensive tackle, quarter blitz. You know what? I'm glad you brought this up. And Herbig is because I do believe he has been the best pass rusher, or at least the most consistent playmaker on the defense this year. And I do think he's going to continue to get snaps as Highsmith kind of works his way back, from injury. And you are right, because Caleb Williams likes to hold on to the ball to try to make that big play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can force into some sacks. You can force him into making some bad throws. It's kind of like that Brett Favre syndrome, where he thinks his arm is actually more talented than it is at times, where he thinks he can fit it in a window. And the fact that the Steelers defense has been different since Jalen Ramsey and Kyle Duggar have been employed as the starting safety tandem here. So I got some numbers on this, and GB, I want you to run with this, and then JJ weigh on this. I'm not sure if you guys notice, because I'm a big nerd with this stuff, and I'm a stats guy when it says the impact, right? Since Ramsey and Duggar have been implemented, the Steelers went. None of these numbers are great, by the way, considering historical Steeler numbers. The yards per game that they've given up went from 386 yards a game, which is terrible, to down to 326, 60 yards better. Their passing yards per game went from 273 to 235. The rushing yards per game against the Steelers defense went from 113 to 92, and the points per game went from 27 to 19. Gentlemen, this is also playing the number 1 and the number 11 ranked offenses in the league, in the 23rd, which is Cincinnati. But if you look at the last 4 games, they were the hottest team in the league with 37 points per game average.
Yeah, they were.
So the fact that you're implementing Ramsey and Duggar into it's stabilized this. And we talked about this on Monday about James Pierre playing better.
Yeah.
Brandon Eccles is playing better. The reason we're bringing these names up, Jay, I don't know if you know this or if you've seen that Chicago has about 6 receivers at around 19 or more catches. So they spread the ball around, so you really can't key on somebody. And it is feast or famine. It's either like a little quick swing pass, or to your point, they're deep shots, because that's Ben Johnson's offense. I think the Steelers have the playmaking depth on the defensive backfield to try to keep these guys in check, to try to force Caleb Williams to try to be a hero, which hopefully will turn into a turnover. GB, how do you're talking more about James Pierre and how this defensive backfield can match up with seemingly the depth of the Chicago Bears playmakers. And since they're really not, Odunze's the leading receiver, but they really don't really force feed the ball to anybody.
Right. I tell you what, James Pierre has been playing outstanding corner. And the other part to that too is the last couple of weeks, Joey Porter Jr. has also been playing outstanding corner as well.
Yes,
both of them, doing some great things. I believe that I feel a whole lot more comfortable. I know that there was some stuff, out there about Tomlin saying that Slade would start. I didn't hear that. What I heard was they asked the question if he was going to start, and Tomlin said yes, he is going to play. He never said start.
Different verbiage.
Play. There's a different verbiage, but they did. But somebody put it out on the Twitters, and then it automatically became true. But that's not what happened. Okay. So I do believe you're going to see more because Slade's going to come back this week, but I still think you're going to see more from James Pierre, and rightfully so, because I feel like he has stabilized the back end of the defense in preventing the big the splash, if you will. Like when splash was going on, Darius Slade was in the game. That's just the truth. He got burned on several occasions, and then the other time there was splash, quite honestly, so was Jalen Ramsey was playing corner. Now he playing safety. We don't see too much splash anymore. We haven't seen that type of stuff. So that's the part that really it's more than just James Pierre. It's
Yeah.
the whole unit coming together. I think really has helped them, and I think you're going to see that on display this week as well.
Yeah, and and I do agree. I think that they match up well on the defensive side because you also have Pierre's length against the Dunze, who's a little
And
taller. I
speed.
believe Luther
He's
Burgh, I
fast.
think, is 6'1" as well too. So you're having a little bit of size that Pierre's gonna be able to match up with that. So on the offensive side, JJ, as you're bringing in new players, and obviously, especially when you as close as you follow college, people come in and out of systems every year and things like that. You got someone like MVS, Valdez Scantling coming in. He hasn't played for the Steelers yet. He has some familiarity with Aaron Rodgers. Do you take somebody who's a veteran like that, like MVS, and are you just implementing him situationally, or are you going to be able? He's been with the Steelers now for a few weeks, so he should have the playbook down. What role would you want to see the Steelers utilize someone like him to kind of jumpstart this offense, regardless if it's Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph at quarterback?
So, yeah, for the biggest thing that I look at here is that obviously the wrist injury, that's going to be a real debacle going into this weekend to see what exactly happens with Rodgers. Yeah. Personally, me, it's not like he's a young guy. He's a veteran. I mean, the NFL is really wrapped around the same concepts. Everything that just changes is the terminology of how they say things or how they call things, certain words, certain, being able to understand where we're going with the football. Right. He's a veteran. I'm implementing him immediately. If you're watching him practice to where you're saying to yourself, okay, right now, DK is our number one. After that, you have Calvin Austin. If there's a question mark in there, you can fit him in there, and you think you have a better option there that can provide an automatic spark. Yeah, I would go ahead and do it because, one, he's a veteran football player. It's not like you're getting Roman Wilson or something like that, right out of the gates where you're automatically putting a guy out there. He's I was almost calling him a freshman, a first-year guy, a rookie. I almost call him a freshman, a rookie or a second-year guy. This is a multi-year veteran. I mean, one, he's worked with Rodgers, and I can bet your ass he's already been there throwing with them, throwing with Mason Rudolph. I mean, that's kind of the big thing for me. I think he's more than likely gotten reps with both. I'm implementing him quickly because I think when you look at the wide receiver room for the Steelers right now, besides DK, there is really nobody that's there. It can't get any worse than what it was possibly already there. I just think that the fact that, more than likely Rodgers really put a good word in for him, what they really wanted out of him. They know what they're going to get. I'm implementing him immediately. And guess what? Well, worst case scenario, let's just say he doesn't play well this weekend. You can always take him out and put Calvin Austin back in, put anybody else back in that you really want to. I think overall, I think there's really there's a high level reward and low risk, to be quite frank with you, because it can't get any worse behind DK. Someone has to be able to help him. I think when you look at the Steelers historically, they've always had that 1-2 punch. But the past really 4 or 5 years, we really only had that one guy, where, Deontay Johnson really just fell off the face of the earth. George Pickens was never a guy, number one wide receiver. He's always number two. It's really showing in terms of the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb's doing a good job, taking a lot of pressure off for him. And, Pickens is really growing off from there, but he was never a number one guy. You're looking for someone historically. We look at the Steelers, you always had Antonio Brown or Juju Smith-Schuster, or Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Martavius Bryant. You always had that 1, 2, 3 punch. You were able to find those guys. And
what could have been with that trio, man?
Trust me, brother. I think Martavius Bryant could have been an absolute superstar if he just kept his head on straight. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But right now, the Steelers are looking for that second guy, and also I want to see more collective, continuity with the offensive line. We're starting to see a little bit more here and there, but I want to see more of the run game get going, because the minute in the NFL you become one-dimensional, you are having a tough sled. You are really it's not like college football. You can get away with it every once in a while. You can't run the football in the National Football League. It's an automatic weakness. You're not going to score a lot of points. And I've said it for a while now. You look at the Steelers' offense this year, people talk about the Steelers' defense, which is rightfully so. There's been bad games for them. But overall, look at the games where the Steelers have scored points. They're bad football teams. And then you look at the games that really struggled. Cincinnati should have never been a loss. I don't care if Joe Flacco knows how well he knows the Steelers. There needs to be better coaching on that end, but also, too, there needs to be more focus. And I think when you hear a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers come out and say, hey, there's too much selfishness, or they're guys playing for themselves. You listen to guys like James Harrison and Joe Hayden talking about guys that are playing for themselves right now and not worried about the team. You got to get that shit, put into a bottle and understand, hey, we need to start playing as a team. Craig Hayward, you look at Hayward. I mean, he said best. I mean, we got to start playing for the name on the front of the jersey, not the back. And I think that once you get that kind of stuff all into a bottle and everything's really on the same page, the Steelers can go back to being very competitive. I think you're starting to see more of it on the defensive side of the football. But as this season gets harder, I am very worried about some of these games. I mean, the Chicago Bears game, I think the Steelers should win this game. That's just my opinion. I really do think they should win. Now, when you start going after this, where Lamar Jackson's back with the Ravens, that's a damn good football team. And if I'm the one thing that concerns me about that is just how the Steelers coach defensively when you're facing an RPO system. When you have a defensive end that's crashing down on the running back, that's an immediate red flag. That's a red flag for me. Your defensive end should always have contain on the outside. My job as a defensive end, and whether it's a 4-3 or a 3-4, my job is to always keep contain on the outside. I am making sure that running back goes inside, but I'm holding contain on the outside to where if Lamar Jackson wants to go outside, I have my guy that's there. You watched a lot of this stuff last year in the playoff game where you had TJ Watt crashing down. That's not like he wants to do that. That's being coached. There needs to be better schematically of what they're trying to do to stop the RPO. I would imagine you'll see a little bit of here and that with the Chicago Bears, but I think morely you'll see Caleb Williams drop back. They try to have those big plays. They want to make those splash plays and try to keep the game close where it's a field goal type of game. And then it goes either way. I think that's kind of what they're going to try to do.
Yep, 100%. And you mentioned about the offensive line too, and I think it's we spoke about many times on this channel. It's like it is. You're right. It's inconsistent. You see some good plays, then you see some not so good plays. You see some good plays, but that's also the youth, right? Everybody but Silmalu is on their rookie deal. They finally put Broderick Jones back in his natural position, and he still gets beat on some inside moves where he reaches a little bit. Yeah, but his feet starting to get better. He's doing, he's doing some good things. Listen, I was surprised. He for the most part locked down Micah Parsons.
Yeah,
that was like, I'm like, wow, that thank God he did that, right? Yeah, I think you have one All-Pro in the line in Frazier. You have a budding All-Pro in Fuatano.
Yeah,
right. I think McCormick is going to be your quintessential solid NFL guard. He's not going to be a superstar. But GB has talked about, we like his persona because he'll fight his own shadow. That dude is like he's got that mean demeanor about himself that I love it.
Room, man.
Personally, I like him honestly, I like him one of the most. San Diego State Jackrabbits, man. He's a jackrabbit, and the guy was always physical in college.
Yeah,
I liked when they drafted him. I thought he was a good draft pick. To your point, Eric, I mean, you've seen progression from Broderick, but I think the early on in the season, you saw a lot of a guy that's flat-footed, and the minute you begin to reach, boom, I'm able to slice. I'm able to go, especially with your angles, going around him, going through him. The minute you're flat-footed and you're allowing a defensive end to get physical with their hands and create leverage and really just move you and just to the point where you can start to see when an offensive lineman is thinking too much to where they don't know if it's going to be a rush or an outside rush or being able to go around the edge or immediately like the old Dwight Freeney spin move on the inside. I mean, you just gotta be making sure you had great footwork, and I think that's one of the things you're seeing better with him. But I think this right now, I think that there was certainly a lot of conversation with the Steelers offensive line coach to where it has to get better. There's going to be different moves. You love to see it getting better, but the run game has to be more consistent. Last week, I thought the run game looked a lot better. They were able to move the football, being able to turn clock. You want to see more of that. It can't be, to your point, Eric, it can't be every other week. You got to start really applying your dominance to other teams.
Absolutely. You're right. You invested a lot of draft capital, in that offensive line. You got 2 first-round tackles, right? You got a second-round center. You got a fourth-round guard, and you have a guy that you invested, a steep contract with it. So you put money into that thing, and so and to your point, JJ, I've been an antagonist of Pat Meyer for the longest time because I just, I feel like we missed on Dotson. I was a Dotson fan, by the way. Like, I loved when he was, like, you used to see him in preseason just absolutely dominating and everything. And then he ended up getting to, like, this bad, he got a bad character rep for whatever, then he gets traded. And next thing you know, he's a Pro Bowler.
He's a Pro Bowler, almost an All-Pro.
Just by switching sides. just by switching sides.
Switching sides, but also too, Pat Meyer has not done a good job. But the Steelers' offensive line play has dropped the minute that Mike Munchak left here. I mean, he was by far one of the best offensive line coaches we had. Obviously, in the day, Russ Grimm was that guy. I mean, that guy was an absolute superstar in terms of coaching and developing offensive linemen. But when you look at this roster right now, the only thing that really I question is, there's a number of draft picks I always question, but the one thing that I really didn't understand is that they let go of Najee Harris and then replaced him with Caleb Johnson, which is basically Najee Harris 2.0, but without the production. There's a lot of clear issues where he's clearly thinking too much, whether he's running the football or in pass protection. He looks completely lost in pass protection. You would hope that you draft a guy like that in the third round to where you'd be really more proactive in terms of a running back position. That's the only thing I'm really disappointed because Warren's, I think he's a really good running back. Is he a typical, prototypical number one? I don't know. I love how he hits the hole pretty hard. Gainwell, I think he's a great third down back. A guy who can catch the football out of the backfield. Same with Warren. But you want that bigger back. I just think for the price of, what Najee Harris left for, I'm just kind of shocked that we didn't make a deal somewhere there because why would you draft a bigger running back that has less of speed where there were other guys that were out there? That was a little bit of a shock to me. And, I think overall, I do blame the offensive line quite a bit for the lack of consistency, but the running back's got to be better because guess what? When Warren's in there, he's making moves and he's being able to find ways to get 3 or 4 yards of carry. Caleb Johnson's just taking too much time where he's trying to be almost like he's, I hate to say, he looks like a Le'Veon Bell where he's taking his time in the hole, but it's not like he's actually doing that on purpose. He's just thinking too much. And the minute you start thinking too much, you're less of a football player. So
I think Johnson he's been disappointing so far, but we see glimpses. But you're right, there was some timidness at the beginning, and he hasn't really lived up to it yet. But GB and I were saying, JJ, I think it's somebody who. Let's look at him towards the end of the year, and let's see what happens if they were to squeak into the playoffs or get into the playoffs and things like that. But I brought up the offensive line real quick, GB, and I'm going to make a point. I want you to take this around with it. Is we talk about the inconsistency of the offensive line. It's also these personnel decisions based on down and distance. And my man Adam was actually already in the comments here looking this up. Is like, quit taking Warren out on third downs is 100% something that's baffling as well too, especially – if you remember, the Chargers game where they were 0 for 9, I don't think Warren was in for any of those third downs. One of the last points I want to talk about the Steelers, and want to get some of the predictions on this because we could analyze this all day, is GB, it seemed like when the Steelers get into trouble, it's when they get behind the sticks. Second and long, or first and long if it's a holding penalty or some other things like that. Then they seem to kind of get stuck in the mud, if you will. Can you fix some of this via some personnel where you dictate coverages, dictate packages that the Bears can play? Because the Bears have a decent defense, not a great but decent defense. Are you good, GB? Are you going to utilize Warren more? We got Johnson. What kind of are you going to change anything up from a personnel perspective regarding down and distances and sub packages?
Well, real quick, to your point about Jaylen Warren, everybody's talking about third down. Y'all know Jaylen Warren's right now questionable for this week. Like, he's been injured. He has an ankle injury. Like, that's one of the reasons why his division of labor is so much less, because he's gimpy. Okay, let's make that clear. All right, let's erase all these narratives and stick to the facts. The facts of the matter is that he hasn't been on the field because he hasn't been able to stay on the field. That's a fact. But to your point, man, I feel like and they started doing it. You have a 6'7", 311-pound.
He did come out with his weight. He's 311.
Skyscraper of a man that all you gotta do is have him post up in the middle of the daggone field. Ain't nobody getting in front of him. I mean, there's so much that you could do with, and we talked about that. How much? You remember how excited I was about 13 personnel? The Rams were doing it very well, by the way. Just so you know, the Rams were doing very well with 13 personnel, and I felt like we could do the same thing. I like what they're doing with that power run game, but I feel like it's now time to, I'm not put it to bed, but let's see a little bit more variation and getting more runs out of different sets other than the power set. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You know, you have to find a way to be able to run, you know, even spread out, if you will. I'm interested to see this week because you know I don't know what Warren's going to end up doing this week. I think his division of labor is going to be less again, and I think that we may actually see a little bit more. And this is one thing I've been calling for is more of Caleb Johnson because I want to see him with 10, 15 touches instead of
Yeah, that's what we
5
haven't
or
seen yet.
2. Right. I want to see him get warmed up and see what he can do because I've started to like we talked about last week, dude, that when he got called for that bullshit stiff arm, you know. But you seen him you saw him get to the outside, and he kicked the second gear, and next thing you know, it was plus 12, like
Yeah.
like just like that, you know.
It's got that
I want to
stride.
see he has a stride that's a little bit different, and that's the one thing I really I want to see more of,
Yeah.
to be quite honest with you, especially if Warren is going to be continue to be gimpy. Gainwell, you
Mhm.
know what you're going to get from him. Get him out in the flat, get him in space, let him make plays for you and everything. But you still need a bell cow in place of Warren if he's still going to be gimpy with his ankle. This is the time for Caleb Johnson to step up and show what he's about. To be quite honest
Yeah.
with you.
Yeah, and they paid Warren as such, right? They gave him a $17 million for a couple years, right? They paid him as basically a complimentary or a number 2 back. That's not
Right.
feature back money. And I agree with JJ in a sense of what Johnson has shown some timidness on it, but I see the talent, and I just hope he gets it because we've seen what he did at Iowa, and I get, you know, we're not running against Northwestern anymore, but I mean, he's done some pretty special things, but he's got to do it. It's up to him to do it. If he doesn't, then you know then the Steelers got a bigger problem because they wasted a 3rd-round pick on him and such. So I like playing ball control. We've already always talked about 33 minutes, 34 minutes of time of possession,
Yes.
things like that, right? And we'll see with the quarterback. Is it Aaron Rodgers? No, I know Aaron Rodgers is chomping at the bit to play because it's the whole rivalry thing. But this is a long, long season. And I'm going to just go and say this, and it's one of the few last point I want to make about the Steelers, and let's get into some Pitt and Georgia Tech on here. But Mason Rudolph is a Jag, right? He's just a guy.
Just a guy.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. He is the next Chase Daniels. He is going to be in this league for 15, 16 years as a backup and a damn good backup. Mason Rudolph is not moving the needle for anybody. If you have a shot to win that playoff game this year as the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Now,
that's
what
it.
that looks like, excuse me, what
Bless
that
you.
looks like or what those chances are, okay, we can argue that all day we want. But if you're going to get in and win a playoff game, it's going to be with someone like Aaron Rodgers because what he
Agreed.
does at the line of scrimmage.
Yep.
I do think that hit he took with Bud Dupree against the Chargers game gave him some happy feet for a little bit. I think if he takes back and sits back for a week, let Mason play this week, you never know, maybe that's the best thing. Or he dresses as he's emergency quarterback, right? And even give the second or the backup to Will Hyde and see if let him be the backup. That being said, GB, or you know what, let's have you go first, Mr. Coach, with the coach get up there, Avonworth coach. What do you think the Steelers' prediction is for the Chicago Bears? We're going to limit the big play on defense for against Caleb Williams, try to match up with all the receivers with the depth of the secondary, and we're going to play ball control, maybe get Caleb Johnson going. Let's just continue to get other receivers in, maybe incorporate MVS in like JJ was talking about.
Yeah.
What do you think the score prediction is for the Steelers and the Bears?
Man, I'm going to say that we're going to see a little bit. I'm going to say I don't think we're going to score as much. Well, yeah, I'm going to say that because I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do yet. Okay, so right now I'm going to say Steelers 24, Bears 13, 16, somewhere around there.
Okay. Cool. Listen, I'll take 3-2. But anyway,
Yeah.
Amen.
JJ, what do you think, buddy?
So there's a number of different things that I think can truly happen. Personally, me as a defensive guy, I think really to mix it up. I mean, you look at the game is full of matchups. I mean, that the best teams are able to find matchups. That's why Andy Reid is one of the best offensive minds in the game. That's why Sean McVay is one of the best offensive minds in the game. Even Nick Sirianni. I mean, for a guy that he's got Jalen Hurts up there. They love to certainly run the football. They love the tush push, all that good stuff. They love to run the football with Saquon Barkley. They're all intelligent for a reason. They're all very creative. I think when you look at the Steeler game, for me, I think when you want to build up matchups, I would love to see more of the 13 personnel. And here's what people might be thinking: we're gonna crowd the line of scrimmage, run the football sometimes, but put those guys out in certain matchups. I would love to see Washington, Mount Washington out wide and really one-on-one with a corner and being able to go up and grab a football. We saw a lot more of him. Why he's not being used more, I don't know why, but he should be used a lot more. You want Jonnu Smith? I'd love to see, personally, a trip set with Washington, Jonnu Smith, and Pat Freiermuth, and then put DK Metcalf out wide. So really you have a 4 wide set, but with 3 tight ends. A major matchup issue, especially with in your trip sets. You can do anything, whether it's going. I mean, you can do a fly route, post pattern, in the flat, crossing patterns. You're able to do anything that you want. You're able to mix and match what you have there. You can also do within a trip set, put Mount Washington out wide, bring DK in, all automatically into a trip set, being able to have him run a go route, run a post pattern, button, anything to create more space. I would love to see the Steelers really mix and match, because I think at the end of the day, the days of Ben Skoranek, Roman Wilson, I think Wilson still has a long way to go. I personally, I think that's going to be a bust of a pick. For me personally, I do not pick wide receivers out of Michigan when they're running the ball 90% of the time. I don't understand that pick. If anything, it's God. It's God taxes Ohio State receivers. I don't care if it's the 5th guy on the depth chart. I'm taking a guy from the Ohio State Buckeyes at the wide receiver position, but that's just me. But I think that at the end of the day, you just got to start using your matchup, start really getting aggressive, and then bring those guys in, especially 2 in that 13 personnel, and just run the ball down their throat. Caleb Johnson's got to show himself this week. I think you can really have a lot of good matchups in this game. I think that personally, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to give it a go. I think that's not a good thing for the Steelers, just because, one, he's not going to be healthy. I'd imagine he'll be on some stuff to where you're not feeling as much pain.
Perk Rodgers.
Yeah. I can tell you this. I really do believe there'll be a lower scoring game than what we're used to seeing. I think personally the Steelers pulled this one out 21-17. I think the defense really steps up this time. The only way it doesn't step up and it becomes a shootout is if the Steelers go 3 and out consecutively and just really not be able to opportunity to move the football. We'll be able to see what they do on the road, but I think they win this. I think they win this football game 21-17.
Yeah, if there's one of those dry spells where they're having multiple 3 and outs, that could be very, very bad.
Yeah.
I'm great. I think Adam got into my notes on here too, because I'm gonna post what he put on here. And by the way, if anybody else has their Steeler predictions, go ahead and post in the comments. Let's throw everybody up there and see what you guys think on the Steelers and Bears. Are the Steelers going to win? Is this a loss? Who's like your star player, things like that. But Adam was talking 31-20, and this is where I say he got into my notes is I think Roman Wilson actually has over 100 yards this week, and it's not from a volume of catches.
Yeah,
I think he has a couple of big plays. JJ, you're right with the Michigan receivers. I'm just hoping ours and him bucks the trend, because you're right. Death taxes and Ohio State wide receivers is where you go. I just actually was with a college buddy earlier, and he's an Ohio State guy. And I'm like, can we get some Mr. Tate on the Pittsburgh Steelers? Him or the guy from Notre Dame, Zero, over one of those two guys. Please come back.
Malachi.
Yeah, Malachi is just an absolute monster, and Tate's an absolute monster. Tate could be another version of Beku. But I like that Adam said 31-20. I was going more like the 27-20, and with the Steelers winning. I've been actually pretty bad at predicting games this year, but I think it's going to stay close in a sense to where, because Caleb, I still think the Bears offense is going to do much, but I believe Caleb's just playmaking ability, and even though he's inconsistent, is going to keep them pretty close. The Steelers will probably have a spur of offensive ineptitude, like they kind of always do in these games. But I'm going to go 27-20. Good guys, and you know what? Let's set up for that game in 2 weeks against the Buffalo Bills, which will have major playoff implications. And I think, listen, Steelers got the game. They got a game in hand on the top 2 seeds in the AFC. They can get Buffalo. That's just as a major feather in their tie-breaking cap, if you will. So Steelers win a close one. Let's just hope it comes to fruition, man. I mean, if not now, they got to start stacking wins if they want to make a run and hold off.
This is the time to start stacking, bro.
You got to win. You got to win this game, because if you go to 6-5, I got news for them. I really right now, I don't know if I have Buffalo as a win. I mean, they can score at will. You got to win this football game. I mean,
listen, because you got Chicago, Buffalo, and then you got to go to Baltimore. So you got to stack these wins, man. You got to stack these wins and see where you're at. So, listen, let's go. Damn it. JJ.
Yes, sir.
Haynes King, man. The Pitt Panthers hopefully rebound against the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Haynes King, I'm looking at this. He's the offense, right? And he is an absolute joy to watch outside of, unless he's playing Pitt, because the guy is just one of those. He's got it right here. Right?
Yeah.
He's what you want in a football player. Maybe not necessarily the best passer in the world, but he's what you want in a football player. Wills his team to victory. Georgia Tech is a scrappy bunch. However, they've had a lot of close calls with Boston College and with others because their defense is kind of up and down.
Yeah.
How do you see Pitt bouncing back from one? And what do you hear? What is their preparation like this week? Are they kind of live and learn from the Notre Dame game? Is it one where you talk about it, but you don't watch the film as much? Like you move on, things of that nature. What from a preparation perspective, what are you hearing from the Pitt camp? And what do you think their game plan is moving into the Georgia Tech game?
So the biggest thing for this Pitt football team is just the mentality. What are we going to look like going into Saturday, where you've got 2 must-win football games, another top 15 opponent in Georgia Tech. It's a night game. It's senior night. It's going to be a massive game down there in Atlanta. And everything that I'm hearing right now is one I loved how they looked at the tape. They looked. You got to look at tape against teams like Notre Dame, even Louisville, even West Virginia. The game that they lost, because one, you got to learn from your mistakes. You got to look at everything that you did. I think that from this previous game, to be honest with you, I think that the defense really wasn't as bad. And when you go back and look at the tape, I thought they actually did. They kept Notre Dame under 28 points overall. I mean, you really had 9 points that weren't on you at all. Especially too when you look at it. They scored 35, but really, in reality, you only gave up 28 points. And if you give up 28 points in a college football game, you should have a really good chance to win that game. So, I mean, I thought the Pitt defense did pretty good, especially for how many times the Pitt offense went 3 and out. But you want to see a rebound this week with Mason Heinchel. I think that the game last week, a top 10 opponent in Notre Dame, you saw the size, you saw the physicality. The offensive line certainly struggled quite a bit. I thought play calling was not as good. I heard a lot of stuff from different people outside of that. Well, these guys are bigger and better. Well, if that was the case, then there would never be upsets in college football. Then why play the game? So I don't buy into that BS. I think better coaches find different ways to get the football out, and especially too finding guys in the flat curl routes, especially when it comes to slant routes. Really get the ball out on timing routes. The biggest thing I think for this team, the mentality, what it looks like, they've certainly got back into it. They looked at the tape on Sunday, very much aggressive on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, out there in Skelly's on Thursdays, on Thursday today. I think they've done a good job. They understand the value of this football game. The question mark that I'm hearing right now is whether Sean Fitzsimmons is ready to go. He did not play against Notre Dame, which in my opinion, the best D tackle on the football team. Francis Breu, I thought, did a hell of a job stepping up at the D tackle position. Nick James certainly stepping up there at that position as well. You watch a little bit of the tape, you see Redman Whittington. I think he can be a damn good defensive tackle, but he goes rogue a little bit here and there. You're not staying on alignment. and then boom, you find, look at the Jeremiah Love, a couple runs there, but the one that he had for about 55, 60 yards. When you're out of alignment, you're not in your gap, bad things can happen.
Yeah.
The same thing goes for when you look at Kyle Lewis and Rasheem Biles. You want to see those guys really get back into how they play football and being physical and being fast and going right to the football. One of the things I think that when I watch the Pitt defense is, you see a lot of times they're looking to blitz, but they put the linebackers, especially on the outside, in a 4-3 system where you have 3 linebackers, especially on the outside. They're blitzing from the outside. Personally, me, I do not like that because now you've just lost gap assignment. If your defensive linemen don't stay in the gaps, all of a sudden you got a train running through that line, and guess what?
Yeah.
It's automatically wide open. You saw it a couple times. But I also want to see this offensive line. I think Jeff Percy, the Michigan transfer, will be back up there at the left tackle position. How does this team respond on offense? Georgia Tech does not have a good passing defense. They have certainly struggled. You've watched it now for really 3 straight weeks. I don't think that their defense is bad. It's a little bit above average. But a team like Pitt should be able to get back on track. How they were able to handle the road environment, which it shouldn't be really an issue. They did a really good job against Florida State with 88,000 fans. Georgia Tech's going to have 52,000 there. It's a complete sellout down at Bobby Dodd Stadium. Excited about that. And then what is the defense going to do in terms of being able to stop, Haynes King, who I think should really be a Heisman contender. He's able to throw the football. He's able to run the football. I think he's more lethal as a runner. I think as a defense, you'd like to have a spy on him. Personally, I would put Braylon Lovelace on him. I think he's good enough in the middle portion of that defense to where you're still able to have Kyle Lewis go out, be able to guard in the flats, be able to go one-on-one with receivers, create a really good opportunity to create turnovers. We'll see and watch that. The same guy when it goes to the running back position, it's funny, Haynes King, and they also have Jamal Haynes. So Jamal Haynes is a damn good running back. I think he's done a good job at this point. And also, too, here we are for the second straight week. Georgia Tech's got a physical offensive line, and I expect nothing less out of Brent Key, a disciple of Alabama, a disciple of Nick Saban. They want to be physical at the point of attack, and I've always said, whether it's Pee-wee, high school, college, or the pros, if you can dominate the line of scrimmage on defense and offense, you got yourself a damn good chance to win the football game. And
that's right.
And Pitt can do that. I think on the defense side of the football, the question is what does this offensive line do? What can they show and really show up and prove people wrong? And that goes hand in hand where, I want to see better coaching out of Jeremy Darveau. There have been questions that I've raised to a number of people where I've seen certain offensive linemen regress from last year to this year. That means a lack of development, a lack of coaching. Especially from the Borbley era, watching some of these guys regress, it's not a good sign. That means that the coaching staff needs to get after it and really start coaching these players up. So I'm excited to see those matchups. Pitt did a good job of not being penalized very much against Notre Dame. That was a good thing. I thought that would be able to help them out.
Yeah.
But here we are, and I think that for Pitt, you really got to show it here because guess what? You lose this game, you're completely out of the ACC race. But also, too, I think that the ACC is a lot deeper than what people think. I think the ACC has been absolutely disrespected this year just because Duke has lost a couple bad games in between there. That's all well and good. But you look at the rest of the actual ACC, I think Virginia's been really good. I think Georgia Tech's been really good. Miami, they beat Notre Dame at home in the beginning portion of the season. I think they've been disrespected. If Miami wins out, even without going to the conference title game, they will make the playoff, in my opinion, for where they're ranked at. It's just for Pitt, really show up and really prove yourself and really be competitive in these games. Yeah. It really is that simple.
Yeah. And you know what, GB, you talk about when you're defending someone like Haynes King, who actually, I'm looking at this, has 50 more rushes than the closest running back. He has 148 rushes, and Jamal Haynes, like JJ alluded to, he has 99 carries. Malachi Hosley has 83. Other than that, you're talking about single-digit carries for this team this year. As a team, they average 6 yards a carry. When you have a quarterback like Haynes King, who's basically their offense, they got a good offensive line, like JJ was talking about. Do you like the way Pitt is positioned to defend him with the linebacking crew, with the Sharks? And do you think this is one of those ones where we've talked about matchups in the NFL? Yeah. Is this a matchup for Pitt that kind of, I don't want to say favors Pitt, but it's advantageous for Pitt because of the strengths that they have on defense?
Styles make fights. And the strength of Georgia Tech, which is the run game, basically with their quarterback, is the strength of of Pitt's defense.
Yeah.
Who's going to watch that? Who's going to watch the quarterbacks? The linebackers will, right? JJ already alluded to it. You put a spy like a Braylon Lovelace on Hayes King, and you follow him everywhere he goes. So if he scrambles, you right there with him. If he, so I feel like that's you have to absolutely do that, because if you neutralize him, then you make them have to use somebody else, and that's when they're going to be in trouble.
Yep.
Right? Because they don't really have too many other any other weapons, and only and if like I said, if you and King is he's a beast, man. He's very impressive. That's easier said than done, but I do believe with the athleticism, the way that the Sharks fly to the ball, if you will, I do believe that they will be able to neutralize him to a certain degree and come out with a victory.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because they have receivers here. I mean, they have 4 receivers, well, 3 of them receivers with 25 or more catches, 25, 28, and 38. And then you have Jamal Haynes, a running back, with 23, which is probably more the screen passes and things like that. So, but you're looking at 13.6, 14.4. You have a couple longs. You have what? 1, 2 of them over 70 yards, 3 of them over 70 yards. So you're having some big plays, but I think those are like probably your play actions. And I've watched a lot of Georgia Tech, but I haven't watched all of it. I have a lot of respect for how they play football, but I do think it kind of plays right into what Pitt does offensively. Now, I will tell you what, now the big danger with Pitt, with especially playing Georgia Tech, is you have to hold the ball. You can't go 3 and out, because the Georgia Tech offense will bully majority of the country into submission with the style that they play. Pitt is a smaller defense, but they are fast in their playmaking defense. Obviously, we've talked about JJ. I mean, how many times we've had our tape breakdowns where they don't stack the box, they crash it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And they're just so athletic. They're so fast. But the problem, when you spoke about Georgia Tech's offensive line, how powerful they are. And I don't want – I think Mason's going to come. I don't think Mason had that bad of a game when you look at the tape. But he missed a lot of opportunities where he's off by a half a second. He was off by a second. And I think if Pitt gets back to sustaining these drives, puts points on the board where you have to take away at least some of the running game from Georgia Tech, it's only going to work in Pitt's favor. And you never know, where Georgia Tech may make a mistake and just give an extra possession or two to Pitt.
I agree. And when you look at these games, again, we talk about, their offensive line. I think, Pitt, when you look at their defense, people will say certainly that they're undersized. But like to your point, they don't stack the box. They crash it because of the speed purpose there. This is another game where you're seeing, and when you talked about Eric on the post-game show, the Notre Dame game, besides the one run for 60 yards, I thought Pitt actually did a really good job in stopping the run.
They did.
In this game, you look at the numbers across the board. Haynes King and Mason Heinchel. Mason Heinchel has played 4 less games than Haynes King. Haynes King's got 2,200 yards passing. Mason has 1,600 yards passing. Haynes King only has 10 passing TDs. Mason has 12. Okay, but the biggest thing that changes is that Haynes King has 148 carries as a quarterback. That's disgusting. I can't even get over how crazy that is, with 14 rushing TDs. If they can have a spy on him and be able to stop the run, if you stop the run, you beat Georgia Tech. And I think that the blueprint's out there, because when you look at a team like NC State, who Pitt throttled, NC State throttled Georgia Tech and really was able to score points through the passing game. Pitt is clearly a passing offense. They're certainly going to be ready for that. And if I'm a betting man, Notre Dame did a really good job of having a spy on Mason Heinchel. You will have a spy again this week from Georgia Tech. There will be things that overlap. But also, too, this is a great opportunity to see, what does this coaching staff do? I'm very much hard on the players. And again, Eric and even GB, when we tell the truth here, and we don't hold back, there's no bullshit in between. And I want to see these coaches and what we can do personally on the offensive side of football. How are we making adjustments right now? Because now there's some really good level of defensive play. It's out there. There's good tape out there that really shows how to stop this Pitt offense. We certainly are not able to run the football effectively all the time. I had a person on X telling me, well, you shouldn't have any true freshmen starting anywhere. Well, I think the running back position, Jakarian Boozy Turner. What's that?
Yeah, says who?
Yeah, I know exactly, and people are like, "Well, I get that," but I guess also too, there were a number of bigger running backs that wanted to come to Pitt, and the Pitt coaching staff said no, we were good. So at the end of the day, as I said to those people online, they didn't like to hear it. Bad coaches make excuses, but at the end of the day, that's the truth. You went with the roster you have here, and you went with guys that are smaller in stature. We talked about it numerous of times on this show. This is big boy football. You can't be running around like the little giants. I mean, you got to get some bigger boys out there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think right now you have what you have. I think Desmond Reed is just he's an incredible playmaker. I mean, for a guy as a starter, the question with him is he can't stay healthy. That's the question on him. And I think that run between the tackles, you like to have a bigger back. But Jakarian Boozy Turner, I want to see him step up this week and be that guy that we know he can be. Continue to go into terms of that development and really show out this week and create opportunities to make big explosive plays. And then, you look at, again, the defense. If the defense stops the run, this is going to be a win for Pitt. It is that simple. How badly do you want to stop the run? And we've talked about it before, Kavir Baines Marquez. This kid, and again, we watched the tape that you sent over, and hopefully I get my DMs figured out to why the videos wouldn't load. But the film that was there, you look at this kid. He's small in stature. Again, you didn't think he'd be that big of a piece, but man, the kid can tackle. The kid tackles at a high rate, interceptions, being able to cover guys. Sean Lee Jr., a guy that was looked at, well, he's too small. He's one of the best defensive backs in the country right now. I just think that Pitt does a good job on the defensive side of the football, finding guys of talent. And the same thing on the offensive side of the football. They found their guys, Jakarian Boozy Turner, Desmond Reed, Mason Heinchel, obviously. You've got guys on the outside. I just want to see this offense really put it together. It's another big game. This is an opportunity to really shut up the naysayers. You're 7-3 right now, go 8-3, and then you return to Acrisure Stadium a couple days after Thanksgiving. And guess what? It's on like Donkey Kong, kid. We're going all in.
By the way, if they win, it's going to be like 30 degrees with Miami coming here too, man. Just get it.
I can't wait. I might not wear a shirt in the stadium. I might do the Ryan Shazier, do a little bit of James Harrison. I'm going to wear a ski mask in the building. I'm going to say, here we go. We're buffing, kid.
If JJ doesn't wear a shirt, everybody open up their beer bottles on his nipples. As hard as a rock. Listen, we went too far in that one. GB, I went from a coaching perspective, and we got some comments coming in here, and I want to get on here. But one thing I want to hit on, with JJ talked about the coaching. Mm-hmm. And I said this on Sunday on JJ's show about Cade Bell.
Mm-hmm.
He had criticisms, although I think some of his pre-season or early season criticisms, I think we found out, was he didn't have the right quarterback in play.
Yeah.
Then Mason comes in, he's doing all the right things, and all of a sudden Cade Bell is a genius again. And I just think he's been above average to solid. And I don't want to say average like is a derogatory term. I think he's been a solid OC. Last week, Mason just missed some throws, which are going to happen. You got to credit Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Where I think he's dropped the ball. And GB, we've said this in private on talks. JJ, you've said this on your show many times. But when you get in, it's situational play callings that I think, again, Cade Bell's a young offensive coordinator. When you get first and goal inside the 5-yard line, stop getting cute. Listen, in the NFL, and not every running back, not every team has a running back who's 6'2", 235. You have backs the size of Goff. You have the backs the size of Turner that can pound it in if you just have the mindset and you have the offensive line mindset to just – we don't know if Pitt can do it because they haven't tried it yet. GB, why don't you take that? I mean, what do you when you're talking about a mindset when you're inside the 5, sometimes you throw the X's and O's out, and it's just simply about execution.
It's just want to. Yeah.
It's the want to. Take this, and I'm going to get to some comments here.
Yeah. When you're in those trenches, man, inside the 5, you kind of I mean, obviously there's fundamentals, but man, at the end of the day, man, it's all 1-2 at that point. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's who's pushing who out the way, who's dominating the line of scrimmage at that time, and the mindset is there that we're dominating the line of scrimmage. Like that has to be the mindset, and then the implementation of said mindset as well. Um, you know, we talked about the Lopes earlier today. The big red wall. They take
Yeah.
pride in that in being the big red wall, and they're just coming
Mm-hmm.
down like a big wave coming, pushing you all out the way.
Mhm.
You got to have that. You have to have that.
Is that
You know,
the ludicrous formation? Move,
yeah,
bitch.
move,
Get
bitch,
out.
get
Yeah.
out the way
Get
formation.
out the
That's right.
way.
That's right.
Hey, well, on this too, because I know JJ has mentioned a lot about the Pitt O line coach. We have a comment in here from Will. Man, just JJ just disappeared behind the comment there. But can someone explain why the offensive line can't develop under Narduzzi? 11 years, he had a good offensive line, maybe since 21. Even if the line KP could escape and bail them out, which he had. I mean, obviously KP's escapability was a key to that success. I know, JJ, we spoke about the offensive line coach at Pitt. Is it more of the position coach with the offensive line, or do you think this is something that Narduzzi wants to implement, even though this is Cade Bell's offense? Is this something we could pin on Narduzzi, or is this more the position coach, please?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. You look at the Narduzzi tenure, he has not done. I mean, the offensive line play was extremely good for the first 3 years of Pat Narduzzi. And guess what? Guess who those recruits were? Paul Christ. Paul Christ could recruit offensive linemen. It's probably the only position he could recruit, but he did. The good thing is, though, they had the really good first 3 years. After that, offensive line recruiting has just not been good. I personally, I think Ryan Bayer came in as a 4-star recruit. I mean, I still think he's done a really good job. I think BJ Williams has done a really good job. Lyndon Cooper coming in from NC State.
Mm-hmm.
But just schematically, there are things schematically of how they block and what they do. They do even a pin pull scheme, which is basically a crackdown block where they're pulling the offensive guard to go across the line of scrimmage to block, but also too, you got a 5'9" or 5'8" receiver, cracking down on a 6'5" defensive end. That doesn't work in power 4 football. There's just some stuff that I've had some coaches, offensive line coaches in the NFL that I know, offensive line coaches in the ACC who have faced us, and offensive line coaches in the Big 12 that have faced us, and they've even said there's some questionability in there. I think you can always, at the end of the day, a lot of things that can hide it. It's just better players. That we can always say that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, when you watched a bunch of these guys regress, there's a couple of these guys that really regress from the Borbley era. I can tell you this: without Dave Borbley, his first 2 or 3 years, I'm not sure how many games we would have won, because that guy schematically was just a freak of nature what he was able to do in developing offensive linemen. Coming in here now, you got Nick Howard, 4-star offensive lineman coming in from Texas. He's going to be a really big addition to this football team. Pitt will certainly spend money this offseason going into the portal to add offensive linemen. But I just think that at the end of the day, when you look at the lack of development, again, I'm just being honest with people. I have heard some stuff come out of that building, and it has not been good in terms of development. And I think when you look at the tape, you can really have that conversation. Do I think that they can get a better offensive line coach? Yes. Have I talked to better offensive line coaches? Yes. Do I know offensive line coaches that would want this job? Yes. Whether they listen to that kind of stuff, I don't know. That's going to be the big thing going into the offseason is, Pat Narduzzi has really handed over the keys to the offense to Cade Bell. The question mark is, are you able to make those business decisions to let go of your friends? Because obviously that's a guy that came over him from Western Carolina. But at the end of the day, this is big boy football. There are offensive line coaches that are damn good in this industry. And I think right now, one of the better offensive line coaches across the country is a guy who was actually here before, Joe Rudolph, who's now at Notre Dame right now, and was just a fundamentally really good offensive line coach who has a strategic plan of how they build it out and how they coach offensive line. I think they can get better up front just by development. I'd love to see more of that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to talent, guys. I mean, I think that Pitt has done a better job of recruiting guys. I think Ryan Corrett is going to be good. I am very disappointed that a legacy name in Jackson Brown has not seen the field this year. A little confused by that. I think when I did my preseason projections, I looked at the offensive line and guys who had Power 4 offers, guys who were really good in the trenches and got really good time. I'm not very happy with that. And I'm actually going to be honest, I'm very pissed off about it. And there are some legacy names, guys like Jimbo Covert who are not very happy about that. And that's going to be something that, Pat Narduzzi is going to have to answer during the offseason. And I think it's going to be a hard conversation. But there's just certain things that I think that need to be corrected. And some guys got to get thicker skin. Some guys don't know the playbook and they got to get better at it. Caleb Holmes was a guy who was a 4-star offensive guard. I think that maybe he may have been a little bit over ranked, a little bit too highly ranked. But there are guys that are there. Ryan Coretta, I think, is going to be a really good offensive lineman for us. His numbers per PFF. I mean, he's only given up 2 pressures all year long. I mean, in the guy since he's been a starter. I'm gonna be honest with you. I thought the signing of Keith Govea was very questionable. Why are we bringing in a guard from Richmond who wasn't even a full-time starter at the group of 5 or at the FCS level? That doesn't make any sense to me. That just the logic there doesn't make any sense. There were some guys and targets that we looked at during the offseason that weren't brought in. I was a little PO'd about that. I knew there'd be some issues there. I think Kendall Stanley could be that guy. I think right now he's a little bit too small. I think he could gain. I think he could be. He's very raw, a little bit too small. But also, too, it's just you got to get those guys and where you got to go after some guys that really are good in the offensive line department because, one, offensive line, grading offensive linemen is so hard, guys. I mean, and you guys know that where you guys coach football, play football at a high level. It's extremely hard. The same thing goes with tight end. Those are the 2 hardest, in my opinion, the 2 hardest positions to grade because it's all projection based of what they could look like at the next level. So I do give them credit on that. But the thing is, though, we got to be more aggressive in terms of going after offensive linemen. I think the improvement, with Pitt's, Pitt's NIL situation, revenue sharing, from sources that I've talked to, allegedly this roster was worth $14 million this year. I expect that to go up. I expect NIL to go up. And again, I've said it before on my show, and I'll talk more about it tomorrow on the pregame show. Alan Green has done a hell of a job behind the scenes, guys, and I'm not going to throw out numbers, but that dude has done a hell of a job. And when those numbers come out next year, I can't wait because it's going to shut some people up because some people have been talking a lot of smack online about this guy, and I think he's done a tremendous job. Could he have put a couple other people in certain positions that, yeah, I think so. But he's hired some damn good guys. Kyle Bruce, who came over from Ole Miss, has done a phenomenal job in terms of engagement and what he's been able to do. There'll be certain changes coming as the season goes on. And Eric, I mean, we've talked about it. People at the tailgate have talked about it where I've, have had discussions, and this is one that is so minuscule in terms of what Pitt needs to do to be a successful football team. This doesn't matter. But just the mental skill shit. Like, prime example, Sweet Caroline should not be played at the end of the third quarter. I'm sorry. We're going we're going to war. We're not going to get ice cream. Okay. You know what I mean? We're not screaming for ice cream. Okay. We're going to war for the fourth quarter.
Bro.
I can't stand that. It should be a tradition after a win. There's just, there's just stuff that, there's stuff like that that's just small that I would do. In-game stuff. I've been to other stadiums of how they keep the attraction of the fans in the stands for all 4 quarters. I've seen it between the SEC, the Big Ten, the Group of 5. I've gone to the Group of 5 at different things that they do. You'd be shocked some of the stuff that you'd be able to do and to keep the attention on, on everybody. But I think Allen has done a good job to this point. The question mark going forward for me, and it's just an honest opinion, these next 2 games are really going to tell us the future of Pat Narduzzi. And I've been very critical. I am not happy. I mean, he could win these next 2 games. I'd still want to see him gone. I just think that the losses have really piled up over the years. I think the recruiting has lacked. I think his desire to recruit in the WPIAL has lacked. His relationships in the city, in the coaching ranks, in high school ranks have really lacked. I would like to see stuff really changed. And I think there are some really damn good football coaches out there who would be really good at this. I really think that Brian Hartline would be really good here. Ryan Silverfield, the head football coach at Memphis. Hartline's a Youngstown, Ohio guy. He'd be dominant here. I mean, that's just my opinion. Ryan Silverfield, head football coach at Memphis. The guy's overperformed there. He's 7-0 in his last Power 4, 7 Power 4 games. He's done a phenomenal job at Memphis. I think a guy like Bobby Chesney down at JMU would be phenomenal. Ben Armbuckle, offensive coordinator, Oklahoma. I think he'd be a stud. Ryan Grubb, offensive coordinator at Ryan Grubb at Alabama, would be a superstar. Charlie Partridge of the Indianapolis Colts, I think, would be a superstar.
100%.
There's just so many names I can go on and on and on that you can have a real discussion about that are very legitimate. We're not going to go after, Nick Saban or all this shit you hear every single year. There's reasonable candidates. I can know that when you watch the game, you put the tape on how they lead their men. And it's not just how you coach the football game. How do you recruit? How do you raise money? How do you talk to your team? How do you talk to the media? How do you promote your own team? How do you promote your own city? How do you promote your own school?
100%.
It's a roster management. There's a lot of stuff that goes involved that I think of, as a general manager, who do I want leading my program? And I just, right now, if it was 10 years ago, I would hold on to Pat Narduzzi. I think he's that guy. But here we are in 2025 going to 2026. I just don't know if he's that guy. And I think that it's been overdrawn to this point.
No, 100%. And you know what? I want to circle back to this real quick because I've seen a couple of recruiting questions in here. I want to get this on record here, and then we can just go with this here as long as people want to stay on here and talk. Because it's funny as we keep talking about it, and I keep seeing the amount of people just keep coming in and hanging with us and keep going up and up and up. And I want to be able to hang with everybody here for a little bit, but just get a quick prediction. And then and JJ, there was a really interesting recruiting question here that I want to pose to everybody. And GB, I want you to weigh in as well. What do we think? Is Pitt going to bounce back based on the matchup? And obviously, Georgia Tech, they may have had some couple close calls this year, but they are no slouch. They are a powerful football team.
Yeah.
Does Pitt make this a get-back game to make that game versus Miami really mean something? And the Steelers don't play till 4:00 that next week, so you might have a 3:30 game with Miami if Pitt were to win. So, GB, what do you think Pitt is going to do this week? Do you think they come back? Excuse me, that they bounce back and get the W? Uh-oh.
The deep, heavy breath.
In
this moment, he thinks about David versus Goliath.
Deep
one moment, one time.
Deep thoughts by GB.
Yeah, they'll pull.
And in this moment, he realized, is Pitt going to fuck up?
You see the smoke coming out of his headphones.
They might. No.
They're going to fuck us up.
So here's the thing about Georgia Tech. I think some of this is also fool's gold.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Georgia
if you
Tech?
look at, if you look at some of the teams that they played, they really haven't played too many teams. The quality isn't really there. Per se. So, I could see Pitt winning this pretty. I would even say by 10, 13, somewhere around there, like 31-21, 34-24, somewhere around there.
Okay, I like it. You know what? I'll save the last for JJ as well too. Ooh, I like Will's there, 38-24. Well, actually, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Georgia Tech 38-24. My fault.
Yeah,
I saw the
38 points. We ain't giving up 38 points to Georgia Tech. I got news for you.
I saw the print was a little too small there. Damn it. Actually, I kind of like the opposite score. That's why I was saying, Will has the right answer for that one. But because I the controlled passing game for me, within the command that Mason has it with it, what I've seen from Georgia Tech's defense, I think it's a matchup. I do think Pitt holds Georgia Tech's running game in check. However, I do think there's going to be an occasional dam break by Georgia Tech because they're just that good. But that being said, I just think that there's too much athletic ability with Pitt. And part of me, this is wishful thinking, but the other part of me, I'm looking at it just from a schematic perspective. Maybe it's not 38-24, maybe it's 38-30 or something like that. But I like Pitt to put up 30-plus points, and I like them to come back. get right in this week, and let's just see where the chips fall with Miami next week. JJ, what about you?
I think Pitt wins this football game. I've watched enough tape this week. It's kind of why I waited for really till tomorrow to do the pregame show. I've watched enough tape. There's a lot of common opponents that we have faced in the ACC. I truly do believe when you look at this team, defensively, there are some red flags with Georgia Tech, and they are a really good football team. I can tell you right now. If we don't stop the run, the game's over. But in my honest opinion, Trevor Summers getting his first, he's going to be playing a lot of time in this game. I was kind of shocked he didn't play a couple weeks ago. I think that what they're doing is making sure they save his red shirt just in case we play in the AC title game. But I'm telling you this, I have Pitt winning this football game 34-21. And the reason I do have that is because I think this is a bounce back game for Pitt because of the major issues in terms of the passing defense. But also, too, I think that this Pitt defense going on the road, that they really thrive off that environment. And I think that they're very much focused on this game. And it's not like, even with David, CJ Carr, he certainly made mistakes. He threw 2 picks. He threw for 220 yards.
Yeah.
But we're looking at the talent on the outside. This is not a team that likes to throw the football. They like to run the football. And when you look at this Pitt offense in terms of matchups, I don't think I really don't believe Georgia Tech has the playmaking ability on the outside to play with a lot of our wide receivers. I really don't. And I think they're pissed off. I think that they're pissed off from what that game was. I think they'll be ready. I have them winning 34-21. In my mind, I had them correcting the mistakes on offense. I have them making the corrections in terms of the run game, a lot more, and especially a lot more pressure from the defensive line. I think they do. But here's the thing, though, to Will's point, if that's the score ends up being the game, it's because we didn't stop the run. It's not because it's not because they were passing the football on us. It's because we just didn't stop the run. It's that
100%,
simple.
100%. So I get hope. And listen, we got a clean sweep for Pittsburgh this week on the road, the big road week, if you will. Pitt over Georgia Tech, Steelers over the Bears. Listen, that'd be awesome if it happened. Awesome if it happened.
And the Lopes over the Amani Saints.
Listen, I wasn't done, man. I wasn't done.
Oh.
And the Lopes over the Amani Saints, man.
We were getting our root peel stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Listen, I hope so, man, because it's a great group of kids. So real quick, I want to round up with a couple comments here. We've been going an hour and 40, which seems like it's been 20 minutes, but it's awesome. The people are still hanging with us, so I love it. We appreciate everybody. Please, let's throw some comments in here for the last few minutes we're on tonight. JJ, this is I knew a question like this was coming in a sense too because of the news of James Franklin. Do you know what the Jennings eye emojis are? And are you still confident in landing Sig? I know he is taking his visit to Virginia Tech, as I believe a lot of these Penn State decommits are. It's a natural thing. I know Pitt threw the kitchen sink in the Haas, if you will, with John Gruden, with everybody. Is your percentages dropping at all? Or is this just more of like, listen, I know when I was in high school, man, I took as many visits as people give me because I was out of school. But I know obviously he was a James Franklin guy. So is this more of just process or is this something to worry about for Pitt fans?
I think just to answer the first question, the Jennings stuff, I do know it is about. I talked to him. I promised I wouldn't say anything, but it's good news. It's good news. It'll come out. It'll be good. Pitt fans will love that. I'm happy for that young man. He's going to be a hell of a football player for Pitt. I can tell you that. The Matt Sieg situation, if I'm not mistaken, and I won't throw out the numbers and whatnot, I even think personally, West Virginia made a good offer out there, but they're not even in, from my understanding, they're not even in contention. I really do believe this is down to Pitt, Indiana, Notre Dame, and Virginia Tech. That's the top four. That is my opinion. The longer this goes on, in my opinion, the worse it is for Pitt. I do believe it's a little bit of give and take. There's certainly he's making all the stops. He's certainly visiting everywhere possible. If I'm a betting man, I would say now I mean, hell, at that time, about 2 weeks ago, no, 3 weeks ago now, 3 weeks ago, I was probably like 68, 69%. I'm going to go, my confidence level is like 58% because of the visits. There's a lot going on. Notre Dame has made one hell of a push. He has been back there. He has seen the Irish the most of any school. I think that the people in certain circles want to see him closer to home, which would be Pitt. But I just think that the visits are going everywhere, and you just don't know. And I think that there's just been so many visits; it's just been through the roof. That's just my opinion. I know West Virginia certainly made a hard push with their offer, but I think right now I'm at like 58% Pitt because there's one how long this is taking and not making a decision. I think he may make his decision on signing day December 3rd. That's my opinion.
He's one hell of an athlete, man.
Yes.
I mean,
he's a dog. He's a dog. He'd be a hell of a safety for us, man.
Oh my God!
And you know what? You got to let that kid, do that because this is a big decision for him, man. Take the time that you need, get all the information, gather all the information that you need, make that decision. What's best for you, not only from a school perspective. Seems like region is important for him, but also schematics. And I believe that's something that John Gruden was talking about, like the style of defense that Pitt plays is really advantageous for his skill set. That's probably a lot of systems are, but let's see, man. I hope he does, sign with Pitt because it would be a great hometown win, a great whoop-yule. But you also don't know what's inside a kid's heart. Sometimes he wants to stay close but get away. We don't know. We don't know. And I'm confident Pitt will put their best foot forward, and we'll just see where the chips fall. And my camera is absolutely dog trash. Hold on. Look, here's my phone. Let's see if I do this. It usually comes back.
Yeah,
there we go.
Good.
Real quick, another one here. This is okay. You know what? Let's go on this. Will has had two questions here, but this kind of goes up there. Does he want to play safety?
Yes.
What have you heard?
And I think Pitt would allow him to start there first, but I think Pitt would allow him to play both sides of the football, that and slot receiver. That's what I was told.
Yep. And let's go back to the Narduzzi comment here too. Is if he goes 0-3, Miami, and we talked about a couple of weeks ago, JJ, on your show about did Mason essentially save Narduzzi's job, and it was a possibility.
Yeah.
But we also don't know what other factors are if he were to come back or not. But it's one where, he saved it, but at the same time, if you kind of set up his expectations, listen, reasonably speaking, I don't think they were going to go 3-0 in these last three games.
No.
If they were to lose one game, the Notre Dame game was to lose, right? I think it's more of the optics of what he said before versus, then the performance. But if they come back and win the next two, a lot of fans will forget that. Because if they win the next two, they're probably in the ACC championship game, I believe. I don't know how certain tiebreakers work. But what do you think? I mean, I think 0-3, then you never know what the bowl participation will be either. And if they drop like the last four, including a bowl game, that would definitely not look good.
If he drops all four, Will, I'm going to be honest with you, from the numerous conversations I've had, if he drops all four, I think you got a 50-50 shot he even returns. I'm going to be honest with you. This guy that's pulling the trigger right now in our department right now is very aggressive. And if he loses all four, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't know if he returns. I'm going to be very honest with you because I think at that point, you can still let him go at the end of the year. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to preface this. Do I think we lose all four? No. I still think we win Georgia Tech. I think the Miami game is going to be something because it's going to be cold up here. And I want to see how that game goes, even though Miami has to win that game to go to the playoff. We can really disrupt things.
Yeah.
There is I don't want to say this. There is something going on behind the scenes right now that I'm paying very close attention to that I can't talk about, but I'm paying close attention to it. That's all I'm going to say about it. I'm paying close attention to something that could really change the program. So I'm paying close attention to it.
Now, JJ's headphones are smoking now.
Yeah. Speaking of changing the program, like I guess that's the part that concerns me. Like losing Narduzzi, does that also mean that you lose Heichel as a result?
So
I mean,
here's the thing.
you finally got your guy. You know what I mean? If you blow it up, then what?
I think at this point, if I look at it from talking to enough people, obviously he comes from a great family and he is very much level-headed. In my opinion, I think he'd wait to see who was hired. And I think, honestly, to be quite frank with you, I think the majority of players, there would be some guys that hit the portal right away or the guys that go right to the NFL draft. From my understanding, I bet you there would be guys, and Alan Green would sit down with them. I bet you Jimbo Covert would be in that room. I bet you Joan Gable would be in that room. I bet you some really big-time Hall of Famers, Danny Marino would be in that room, to say, let us hire a coach first, then make your move. Give us a week or 2 weeks to make a move here, and then go ahead and make a decision. Because I think that, again, in this time of college football, and we'll see how it all plays out. I mean, again, we're thinking the worst case scenario, but at the end of the day, if we have our guy, but if he's not being coached to his potential, and we're running 7-5 and 7-6 every year, it's like you're in purgatory. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, I'd rather give it a shot, go all in, just because, one, the donors that are coming in right now and the money that's flushing in from donors. I mean, West Virginia's losing donors. I mean, they lost big donors. We're gaining big donors. I mean, at the end of the day, the chicken's going to come home to roost, and there are some people that are pulling the strings that are, hey, I'm donating millions. And by the way, when you see that stuff with the Panther Club and it says Athletic Directors Club, most of them are 7-figure deals, 7-figure donations, 8-figure donations. I'm
10-figure donation.
It was a 10-figure donation. Shit, we got an organization. We don't have a university anymore. I'm just being honest. There's a lot of money flushing in, and there are people behind the scenes that want to get aggressive. And you're watching, like, at the end of the day, is Virginia Tech ever going to win a national championship with Jimmy Franklin? No. Big game James isn't going to win but guess what? He's probably going to win 9 to 11 games there. He's going to get you in contention every single year. I mean, Virginia Tech's never, if he wins 9 to 11 games every year, Virginia Tech will never fire him. And people are like, well, what are you talking about, Jay? He just got fired from Penn State. Frank Beamer never won a national title there, and he's a god. He's a god there.
Oh yeah.
Yes, if they win 9 to 11 games and they're in the playoff contention and they win the conference and they're in the playoffs, they're never getting rid of that guy. I just think that there's a lot of schools going all in right now, and we are putting a lot of resources towards football, a lot, tens of millions of dollars, and we are, certainly paying assistance. And to people that don't know, people were asking me, how do you know they're putting resources to it? One, the people I talked to, but guess what? Pat Narduzzi makes more money than Marcus Freeman, guys. I mean, one guy went to a national title game and one guy's won an ACC title. Marcus Freeman's making just over or just under $7 million. He's in that $7 million range. Narduzzi's going to make over $8 million this year. That's like third or fourth in the ACC behind, Mike Norvell is making $11 million. Mario Cristobal is over 10. Dabo's over 10, and then you have right there at fourth is Pat Narduzzi. I mean, we got a lot of funds out there. We are paying coaches. Now it's time to show production. So, and again, the world of college athletics by 2030 is really going to flip, and we need to be very much competitive. Right now, we are competitive. We're right there in the end of the ACC, but on a national level, for how much our resources are being input, we have to be more competitive on a national scale. That's my honest opinion. And I don't like how you look at some of the recruiting stuff. There's just some lazy stuff going on from Narduzzi. I would want to see improvement from. I want to see relationships mended. But I just think we're getting to a point where, hey, we've reached our ceiling with them. He's certainly raised our floor. He has won an ACC title. I am beyond thankful for what he has done. Right. But each level, unfortunately, they always say, even with your friends, there's with people around you. There's some people that you're around that just get you to here and they want to stay here, but you want to go here. Unfortunately, you got to disassociate. It's a business decision. This is a business, and it's a multi-billion-dollar business. It's not personal. It's just business. And I think Pitt's getting close to that opportunity.
Yeah, and one of the final points I want to make here too is, you were mentioning some of those coaches. And I do think, again, you're not looking at, I think, Mason to be a major player in a decision-making for an ex-head coach. I'm assuming that, let's say, Narduzzi is not here next year, and you're looking at another coach. Someone like Hartline, I believe, would be someone Mason would want to play with.
Yeah.
You're going to hire someone like, I don't want to say you consult Mason, but I think you have conversations with him. Hey, if it's between Hartline, the guy from Memphis or someone else, which one meshes up well with Mason the most to keep him here? Because I do think you have a quarterback, JJ, you're talking about going from here to here.
Yeah.
Mason's going to help that coach do that and take that program to the next level, which then just keeps refueling that recruiting pipeline with the continued donations that are coming in. So I do think Mason would be part of that decision-making process. So what GB was talking about was, hey, you don't want to make a move when you finally got a guy that Pitts went through a few others since Kenny is gone. And even prior to Kenny, there was some, you had the Tom Savages of the world and things like who played well, but wasn't that upper echelon quarterback, where Mason has a chance to be a Heisman Trophy candidate type quarterback. You want to be able to keep him here. You don't want to break the bank for it because you can always recruit other guys, but I think you have your guy because of the level head. I mean, I listened to the interview you did with Mason a while ago, JJ, and obviously just listened to him in his interviews, and obviously, we've interacted with his father on your show and then through the Twitters and everything. It's a good family. He has a good head on his shoulders, and you want to see him stay here. I think he would be part of the decision-making process if another coach was coaching Pitt in 2026.
I'd say yes and no. Just because what I know Alan Green, and he's a very aggressive guy, I think that Alan would know, like, in my personal opinion, I think Heinzel could fit into any offense. I mean, as long as it's not like we're going to Frank Signetti type of offense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if we're modern day, college football, not Bill Walsh, 1980s, West Coast timing offense. I mean, and we're just looking at timing routes. I think he would look at anything, and I think that the guys that are on his list and who he's looking at would certainly fit him. And I think that overall, Allen's going to make the best decision for one, the institution to be successful. Because obviously, too, if that coach doesn't work out, Allen won't have a job. So I mean, at the end of the day, he's not going to put it all on a kid. He's going to make sure, hey, this is going to be the guy that promotes the program and gets us on track after a year or two. You know what I mean? I think that, again, to all the people in the group in the chat, this is all speculation stuff like that. This is all 100%, like guys,
100%.
But I think to your guys' point, there's a multitude of opportunity out there, and I think there are a number of guys, and I'll even put another name out there. Just gonna do it because I'm just gonna do it. John Gruden. Just gonna put that out there. I really am.
Damn.
You know what? I was about to say that too because my man is acting like he is recruiting himself.
Yeah,
Spider Y2 bananas coming to Pitt.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of guys I look at again. Bobby Chesney, a PA guy down at JMU, has done a great job. He's 9-1 right now. He's done a great job at JMU. I think he's a future Power 4 coach. I think he just gets it. Ryan Silverfield from Memphis has done a hell of a job. Brian Hartline has done a hell of a job, and he's got the stamp of approval from Urban Meyer. So I would certainly put that to the will. That's been a huge one. Also, too, I'm going to throw out a shot here real quick just to call my shot on this one. Penn State, the next head football coach at Penn State. You ready for this? Matt Rule.
Wow.
You think you think he didn't he just sign an extension at Nebraska or some type of an amended contract?
The buyout is $15 million, but since Penn State is not paying $49 million to James Franklin, they're only paying $9 million.
Buy him out.
It's going to be him or Eli Drinkowitz. I think I really do. Yeah. I think it's going to be one or the other. But that, in my opinion, there. And then when you also look at who I said, Bobby Chesney, Silverfield, Mike Shanahan, offensive coordinator, Indiana. I think he would certainly look at the job. I think he'd do a great job. Charlie Partridge, John Gruden. If you look at Ben Armbuckle out of Oklahoma, OC out of Oklahoma, Ryan Grubb out of Alabama, OC. I think he's getting ready for a gig. Will Stein out of Oregon, offensive coordinator. Even Georgia's defensive coordinator. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Ben Schumann. He's another guy. There's a number of guys that I could look at from a coordinator standpoint, head coaching wise. You're not going to get, in my opinion, like honestly, I hate to say it, the perfect guy for this job, in my honest God's opinion, who I think would take Pitt to a playoff. You want to know who it is? Matt Campbell of Iowa State. That is a guy that I think is such a damn good football coach. He is going to be the winningest head football coach in Iowa State history. He is a former Toledo guy. He has done wonders in terms of recruiting on the East Coast. If you can win at a place like Iowa State, I couldn't imagine what he could do at Pitt. I'm just in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Mike Shanahan's another big. I mean, Mike Shanahan with being under Signetti for so long, that's a huge one. Just how he would. He would get a lot of former players back. I mean, good Lord. That'd be incredible. I mean, the guys, his offense bringing it here, that would be great. You want to talk about a great offense for Mason Heinchel? Go look at Mendoza. Go look at the tape. Go turn on the Heisman, one of the Heisman front runners in terms of Mendoza, Jeremiah Love, all those guys. There's just a number, in my opinion, there's just a number of good coaches out there that just the modern day, if we want to go win real games between 9 to 11 games a year, there are guys out there. That's just my opinion. And just talking to enough coaches and listening to the coaching fraternity talk about Pitt as a job, it's not Alabama, it's not Georgia, it's not Penn State, but the job here, being in a city, competing with the Steelers and Pirates and stuff like that, and the Penguins can be tough. But it's the proven fact that we've gone to ACC titles. There are coaches that see this as a gold mine and a sleeping giant with the history that we have here. And to listen to coaches that say it's a sleeping giant, Jay, if I had that opportunity, I would interview for that job. There'd be hundreds of people to interview for the job. I mean, there are a number of guys who could do really well here, in my opinion. I've already named it, how many of them.
Well, you know what? Honestly, we could probably keep going for hours.
Yeah, 2 hours in now. Yeah, we hit the 2 hour mark.
This is a Burgh Cave record 2 hour show, and it only felt like an hour.
You know what this was? You know what this was? Car hour. That's what it was, kid.
Exactly.
A lot of talking, a lot of chin. a lot of chin music here.
Exactly. Hey, before we get out of here, as we do in all of our shows with our groups of friends, that's GB. Let's get you up first, man. Where can people find you? And one last shout out to your Avonworth football team, brother. Your parting shot there, sir.
Welcome Lopes. Find me at GB the Uppity Yinzer, aka at _boy_GB on the YouTubes and also on the Twitters and Instagram and TikTok.
Look at you.
Yeah.
And you got some good stuff coming up next week with your brothers, right? When you're in your YouTubes.
Yeah. Growing Up Brown, get ready.
Shenanigans.
We got some guests that we're setting up, and stay tuned. We had a little illness with my brothers this past week, so we had to postpone, but we'll be back ready to go. And come have some fun with us, some laughs, if you will.
Let's go.
Growing Up Brown. Yeah.
JJ, what about you, sir? Obviously, where they can find you, and talk a little bit about your preview show for that you got coming up.
So obviously, you guys can follow me on X at JJ_Kitchen40, and then obviously on YouTube at Talking College Football with JJ Kitchen, and of course, make sure you're subscribed here. We gained a couple subscribers in here, 3 or 4 I saw. Between Twitter, I saw on Twitter and here in the chat for the Burgh Cave. Make sure you do that. And remember, don't be a hoe. Share the show. That's what we do here, okay?
That's right.
No hoes.
No hoes. Share shows. And if anybody knows where to get a better webcam, because mine keeps going out of focus like a piece of trash. But hey, man, listen, I appreciate
you wore it
it.
out with your OnlyFans account.
Come on, bro.
Eric's wife's in the background going, "What the hell does he have? What the hell does he have? He's selling feet pics or some shit."
Man, GB just got me a night on the couch, man, and I didn't even deserve it. Come on, bro.
You know what though? For Eric's house though, sleeping downstairs might actually be a pro because that might actually be a pro thing.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Hey, yeah, but listen, I do appreciate. I know I saw Will saying he subscribed, man. I appreciate you. Anybody else? We did jump up a few more subscribers here, so I do thank you for tuning in. We find the Burgh Cave on the Twitters as well as here in the YouTube, and check out our millions.co merch section. You see, we got some great shirts here, like Western PA Football Made Me.
Yeah,
we're working on some more. Well, we're going to get maybe a few different ones out for the holiday season, man. Support the Burgh Cave. One of the cool ways you can support it, not only just to say, you support the Burgh Cave, but Western PA Football Made Me. It's a way to show WPIAL pride. And I am an IPA guy and IPA girl shirts. Really cool gifts for the brewski lovers in the family. But as always, we appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We will see you guys back here on the Burgh Cave on Monday night. Be joining my man JJ on Sunday night. Hopefully we'll get some technical difficulties. We'll get some more tape breakdown.
Yeah.
And we, again, always appreciate everybody hanging out with us for 2 freaking hours. Let's go. Feels like one of those extended Raw wrestling shows, man.
The cars.
Till next time, appreciate everybody, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Hail to Pitt. Go Steelers.
Hail to Pitt. Here we go.